Hey there, and welcome to Edit My Photo for October 2021. Taking the classic puppy dog eyes shot of one dog can be tricky when you're shooting looking down from above with a very shallow depth of field. Trying to get two dogs in focus though, especially if they are different heights, it can be nearly impossible. Tiffany shot these two images with a plan to combine them in Photoshop, a challenge that she's passed on to me to have a go at as the winner of the last Edit My Photo challenge. Feel free to follow along from start to finish or fast track through the tutorial using the chapter links down below. And as always, if you like the video, please subscribe for more pet photography, shooting and editing tips and tricks. Hi, I'm Charlotte Reeves from Unleashed Education, and you've tuned in to another episode of Edit My Photo. We run these free editing challenges in the Unleashed Education community. Each challenge runs monthly and goes through a few different stages. Firstly, we submit one of our raw images for members to download and edit. One of the most common editing tasks we do as pet photographers is leash removal. In fact, most of us have it down to a fine art. But what about when the collar position or appearance is a dead giveaway that there was a leash attached? Cleo the Dalmatian could not be trusted off leash at this seaside spot, so all of her shots at this location feature a lead, which is fine and quite normal, easy to remove. Unfortunately though, her collar was a little loose, which meant that when she pulled against the leash, the collar was also pulled out to the side. Removing the leash without addressing the collar issue would not give a realistic result. So I specified that in this edit, the collar must be dealt with in some way, whether that be removing it entirely or just fixing the pulled out to the side appearance. Everyone did a good job of the leash removal and editing out the photo bomber, and some people even removed the fence line in the background and fixed up the bokeh in the background too. I love seeing this kind of attention to detail. We had a fairly even mix of submissions where the collar was kept versus removed. The fur and the skin underneath and around the collar was really pulled out to the side and quite tricky to correct. So I was actually really impressed to see how many people did this so well. It made my job of picking a winner all that more difficult. The winner of the challenge was Tiffany, and here's her edit. She chose to leave the collar in place, and as a finishing touch, even left the end of the collar intact. The edit is warm and bright, all the distractions have been removed, and the composition feels balanced. In the second stage of the challenge, the winner of the challenge gets to submit one of their images for me to edit. Tiffany gave me a fun challenge by submitting two images so I could combine them in Photoshop. Shooting this puppy dog eyes shot with a prime lens and a super shallow depth of field is nearly impossible with two dogs, so Tiffany cleverly took two separate shots to achieve the look without having to increase the depth of field and ruin that lovely soft background. In this edit, I'll be showing you a super easy technique for combining these two images into that one perfect puppy dog eye shot with both dogs. We'll skip through the Lightroom adjustments with this speed edit, and I'll catch up with you in Photoshop. Make sure you watch all the way to the end so you can see the finished result. And as always, I welcome your questions and feedback in the comments. Welcome to Lightroom. So because we're going to be combining these two images, the first thing that we need to do is get them edited pretty much identically. So we need to apply the same adjustments to them. So what I'm going to do is whip through and make a few adjustments to this image here. Okay, I think I have this image looking quite nice. One of the things that I did actually was down under the lens correction panel, I ticked remove chromatic aberration because that's something I always do to try and improve the image quality, but I also ticked enable profile corrections. Now, the reason I did this was shot with a 35mm prime lens at a fairly shallow depth of field. And what happens with those lenses sometimes is you get quite a lot of vignetting and distortion in the image. And what enable profile corrections ticking that does is to remove that distortion and the vignetting. Sometimes it goes a little bit overboard and removes too much of the vignetting and it makes the image look really flat. So often I will just take this slider back a little bit. to restore some of that natural vignetting from the lens. So now, because we've got the adjustments where I want them on this image, I'm going to copy them onto the other image. So I'll go Command C. I'm going to be copying all the settings except for a few key settings. So transform, we don't want to copy. We didn't do anything there anyway, but it's a good idea not to copy those transform settings from one image to the other. Spot removal, again, didn't do any, but it's not something you want to copy from image to image. And also crop, again, usually not something you want to copy. And the last thing is masking. I didn't do any masking to this, but again, I've left it unticked. So I'm going to copy that, select this image here, and then basically just Command V to paste those settings onto this image here. Now, flicking between the two, I think they match pretty nicely. I do feel like the dog here, because the light's mainly coming from the right hand side, I do feel like this side of the dog's face is a little cool. So I'm just going to add a little adjustment here with the brush. And I'm just going to do this by hand. So adding the brush and then subtracting it using auto mask from the areas where I don't want the brush to apply to, which is just kind of here, and also the background. And I'm just going to warm that up a little bit because I just feel like it's a bit cool. Ah, that's better. Also maybe lift the shadows a little on that side too, just a touch. That's better. Nice. Okay, so looking at these two images here, I kind of have to flip back and forth between them to kind of compare them. But something else that you can do if you're in the develop module is you can use this mode here. So basically it gives you a reference photo and then a active photo. Now the active photo, if you make any adjustments, it'll be making the adjustments to the active photo. Let's just drag this one over here. So here I would be making adjustments to this photo here. Say if I wanted to maybe give it a little bit more exposure to match the reference photo, I could do that here. At the moment, I think these images are looking pretty good. I think they're quite well matched. So what I'm going to do is export both of those images to Photoshop, and I'll see you there and we'll continue the edit in Photoshop. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. We've got both of these images ready to go. Just flicking between them again, just to make sure I've got them matched as best I can. I think they're not too bad. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is leash removal because I want to deal with that at this stage. So I'll just whip in and do that super quick. Okay, so that's that leash removal done. Now it comes time to combine these two images. So I'm going to use this one as the base image, and I'm just going to, with the move tool, click into this image, drag up to the tab for the other image, keep holding the mouse button down, and then drag down into this image and then let go. That then creates a layer with this image in there that we can put wherever we want. So I'm going to just put it wherever. Because I need to position this image in relation to the other one, it's a bit hard to do that if I can't see them both at the same time. So the best way to do that is to just reduce the opacity of this layer. If you've got the move tool selected, you can just press, say, 5 on the keyboard to take it to 50% opacity. So as you can see here, I've got them a little bit close. I want to leave a bit of a gap between them, maybe about like that. So before we go any further with this image, I'm going to recrop this just to add some extra space on the right hand side of this dog. So I'll go to the crop tool by pressing C. If there was a ratio selected here, because I'm cropping to like a custom ratio, I would press clear. I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to pull this handle out here, and as soon as I start pulling that handle out, it's going to show me where the bounds of that image is. Pull it out to there, press enter. Now it looks a bit weird because we're still on 50% opacity with that layer, but if we fill that in, you'll see that we've cropped out to the edge there. So let's take that, let's leave that opacity there. We're going to add a layer mask to this layer here. So I'm going to hold down Option and click the Add Layer Mask in the Layers palette there. So that's added a black mask. So that's hidden all of that layer. Then I'm going to grab a brush. So be on the keyboard, make sure it's a white brush, make sure it's got a nice big feather on the brush. So with the hardness all the way down to 0. And then I'm basically just going to paint in to reveal this dog here. There we go, just like magic. Now, if you press backslash on the keyboard, you can see a better idea of exactly where you've gone. I'm just going to make sure I've got all of that dog there. And now if I turn that off, you'll see we have combined them. Beautiful. So let's zoom in and have a bit of a look and see if there's anything that we need to do here. We might do a little bit of cloning in this sort of area. It looks a little bit strange. There's a bit of a shadow here from this dog that we've actually gone over the top of with this dog. I might actually move them a little bit further apart. So if you need to do that while keeping the mask in the same place, you just click on the little link here and then select the layer using the move tool and just use the arrow keys to move that dog over a little bit, just to add a little bit of extra space there. It's kept the mask in the same spot. And we might just adjust that mask a tad. There we go. Okay, so now that I've got this looking quite good, I'm going to recrop this. We might go with a 2:3 ratio crop. Just press X if it goes portrait. And I'm going to crop it about there. I think looks pretty good. I'm going to flatten what I've done here. So I've got a custom keyboard shortcut set up. You can set one up too. Now all I'm really going to do is go through and clean up a few little spots here and there, maybe just do a little bit of cloning here to kind of fix up the seam between the two images. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you back in Lightroom. So here we are back in Lightroom with the combined image. I think it looks pretty good. One final thing that I'm going to do is just add a bit of a custom vignette to darken around the edges. I actually really like the vignette that the lens created, so let's try and recreate that a bit. You could actually go down to effects and post-crop vignetting and just take that amount to the left a little bit. It doesn't give too bad of a result actually, so that's one option. You can also go up to the masking, create a radial gradient that goes over the whole image and then invert it. and then basically just take the exposure down. Now we can also subtract the subject from this so that that effect is not bleeding over onto the subject. So you would just go subtract subject, and then I would probably back off that effect a little bit. There we go. So that is without the vignette and with. I think that's a nice subtle effect. So this is it. This is the finished result. I think we've managed to match the editing on the images quite well, and we've basically done the impossible. So we've created an image where both dogs have their eyes and faces in focus, but we've retained that super shallow depth of field, which has created that beautiful, soft, blurry background. So if you stuck around right to the end, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this edit, and I'll catch you next time. Hi, me again. If you're wondering how you can get involved in these challenges, it's easy. You just need to be a member of the Unleashed Education community, created by myself, Charlotte Reeves, and fellow pet photographer extraordinaire, Craig Turner-Bullock. All you need to do to participate in these challenges is to join our Facebook group, then opt into the free Edit My Photo online hub where we set new challenges monthly. We post wrap-ups and announce the winner of completed challenges, and also share our winner's edit in a tutorial just like this one. We also create an editing tutorial. We call them Unleashed Edits of the raw file that we set for the challenge. This comprehensive edit is available in the Unleashed Education membership, a paid membership which includes access to our premium pet photography courses, educational videos, ebooks, guest artist videos, editing tutorials, 4 monthly live group coaching calls, and of course, a private members only Facebook group. Through the membership, Craig and I share all of our best shooting and editing education, everything you need to become a better pet photographer, plus stacks of inspiration packaged up in a fantastic, friendly, worldwide community. But to get you started, Craig and I would love to have you join in on these free Edit My Photo challenges. If you'd like to find out more, check out the link in the description.